I frequently insert the fact that I went to architecture school pretty often in my videos, to the point that it's probably boastful to some of you. But I haven't exactly shared a focused perspective on the things I've learned and retained during my 4-year struggle towards an undergraduate bachelor's degree in architectural science. You're doing it again. Doing what? You didn't have to specify that whole last part. It feels like you're boasting again. Oh, yeah, well, you know, it's more like filler words to make it feel like the video is longer and has more content than it actually does. Kinda like trying to reach the word quota in an essay, you know? Oh, I get it. So it's like trying to reach the 8-minute mark in a YouTube video so it can qualify for mid-roll ads. Oh, no. It's not like that. It is that. He's right, I boast a lot about having graduated university, but really, I don't have much to show for it. This degree doesn't mean anything. I don't even know where it is. It's somewhere at my parents' house. It neither represents my accumulated knowledge nor my passion for architecture. It merely serves as a reminder of how many years I can endure hating myself. True, it has been almost 10 years since I graduated, so it's natural that I forgot a lot of what I learned, but even at the year of, I didn't really have confidence with my knowledge in pursuing the field. When I chose to full commit to YouTube and content creation, I naively thought to myself, if I totally bomb this and I make like 10 cents a month, at least I have architecture to fall back on. But really, it was more like, please let this work. I don't want to do architecture. I hate it. I want to make dumb animations, please. Architecture wasn't really plan B, it was more like plan L. So when I say I truly appreciate your support of my work and allowing me to self-sustain from my videos, I really mean it. Thank you all. That's really awesome, Dom. Thanks. So how much did you retain from architecture school? Oh, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I cried at least 17 times. I remember one of the first lectures we had, our prof shat on all of us for not knowing what this structural element is properly called. Anyone know what that is? Right there, in the middle of the room. What is that called? Yes.
A post?
Nope.
A pillar?
Wrong. A beam? A vertical beam? No. One more try or I feed my shoe to one of you. A structural vertical beam? A column. It's called a column. How do you guys not know this? You're in first year. God. So, for the rest of my life, due to being ridiculed, I will know to call this a column. Boy, I'm sure glad my tuition paid for someone to make fun of me for going into a program to learn about things I wasn't knowledgeable about. The biggest lesson I've learned in what makes a good building design is form follows function. The nature of architecture is to design based on the human experience and how people interact with the space. The overall shape of the building should be directly corresponding to the intended function or purpose of the spaces within it. If you design a building shaped like an origami paper crane and presented it to a professor for a critique, they will calmly tell you it is garbage and then spit on your grave because you are now dead to them. Even though seeing a paper crane building might seem cool and Instagrammable, when you think about it, it likely fails as a building. You've got awkward corners everywhere, making awkward rooms for people to fit into, which means a bunch of wasted space and wasted construction materials and costs, and what is even going on up here? Is it just a tall, empty space, or are there awkwardly shaped single rooms that shrink every story until you get to the sniper tower? How do you even get up there? Standard elevators don't move diagonally, and stairs aren't gonna fit nicely without the engineers wanting to put a bounty on your head for this complicated design. Simply put, if it's annoying to build, it's probably a bad design. While a paper crane may be used as inspiration for a design, there is much more to architecture than just cool visual concepts. There is this museum in Toronto called the Royal Ontario Museum, the ROM, and all of my professors, collectively and unanimously, shit on the ROM every chance they get. It looks like this, and you might be thinking, oh, it's kinda cool, right? It's got some very unnatural shapes, and it's interesting how it superimposes on the surrounding structures to elaborate the distinction between the old and the new. It stands out. Very touristy. But that's all it did. Stood out. Once you go through architecture school, you never look at buildings the same way ever again. You know how much my profs hated the ROM? They took us on a field trip to the ROM to shit on its design during the tour. Wow, look at all these awkward corners. Wow, look at all this wasted space. Wow, look at this useless hallway that leads to a dead end. Wow, wow, wow. They were brutal, but they were right. Some people might feel like square and rectilinearly designed buildings are basic and boring, but really it's those kinds of spaces that we usually feel the most comfortable in. What the hell are you going to do with a spherical room? Where does your door go? How are you going to arrange your furniture to fit without having to customize them? Are you going to have curved glass windows? Again, the engineers and construction workers will have your head on a pike. Remember, form follows function. You don't think of how a building will look and then somehow force cram the necessary rooms inside to fit. You keep in mind your overall space constrictions, of course, but you have to design from the inside, and eventually the outside will take its form. And finding the optimal arrangements in correspondence to interesting forms is what sets aside the good architects from the paper crane designers. Some other bits of things I learned. We never called these blueprints, they're just called architectural designs or drawings made up of plans, the top views of the spaces, sections, views of the spaces as if you cut through it, and elevations, the side views. Always include standard scales when showing drawings. 1 to 73 is not typically a scale people understand. This part of the roof of a building is called a parapet, and it was really annoying to draw in cross-section. Either you drew your drawings on a presentation board by hand, or you did it on a computer and spent $90 to print it. Starving artists and starving architecture students get along. Avoid using glue gun for your models. It doesn't dry nicely and sometimes leaves those spiderweb glue bits. As I've mentioned before, keep the engineers in mind. They have to make your design stand. If you think a 20 by 20 meter room can hold up without any columns, enjoy having your ceilings collapse. Exterior walls are much thicker than you think because of insulation. Flooring is much thicker than you think because of HVAC. East and west facing windows give harsh lighting because of sun pathing, which can slightly be mitigated with overhangs, but north and south facing windows give diffused and more comfortable lighting. Always account for accessibility in designs. Ramps need a slope of about 1 to 12. Symmetry is cursed. You don't really need double staircases that both lead to the same location. I feel like people really only use these for prom photos. And finally, or at least this is all I can think of right now, all exit doors should open outwards, or you've indirectly killed someone in the future via getting trampled. Now, here's the part of the video where I usually try to look at the bright side of things and realize the true lessons I've learned because the hardships were necessary for me to grow as a person and end on a good note, but I hated architecture school and I still blame it for my insomnia.